Hey guys, it's Brittany, and today's video is going to be just me talking. I haven't done a video where I just talk about my life or spill my guts or heart to heart in a really long time, so it just felt like it was time. I had enough footage to put up a vlog. I was gonna vlog this week, but I got really into watching this show and I finished the first season of 13 Reasons Why on Netflix. And no, this is not sponsored, but it deals with a girl who commits suicide because of bullying. And it really resonated and hit home with me a little bit just because of what has happened in my childhood, and there's some things that I've never talked about that I feel like maybe I should talk about. So this is a video on my experience with bullying and harassment. Things I haven't talked about, but again, it's time. I have talked about being bullied in the past. It's not like a new thing. And I don't want to go into that too much. I'd rather get to high school, but let me just set a foundation of what my childhood was like. 4th grade is when things got really rough. It started with this group of girls that just liked to harass me, and I was actually on swim team with some of the girls, and they would steal my earrings and my shampoo and my clothes, and they just would belittle me, and I would just try to avoid them at all costs. I actually got in a fight with one of the girls because we were playing hopscotch, and this is really stupid, but we were playing hopscotch, and she's like, "You're doing it wrong," and she went to shove me, and I grabbed her hair, and she took her nails and ran them down the back of my hands. And that was my first, real physical fight where I went to the principal. No, the first time I went to the principal's office was when I was 5 because I kissed a boy. I was watching, Dirty Dancing too many times. I've talked about this before, and I was just curious. But that was my first time I went to the principal's office for fighting. 5th grade got even harder because the group of girls that were bullies got bigger, and I'd gotten more fights, and I would come home almost every single night and just cry to my mom and just be like, I just want a friend. That's all I wanted, was one friend. I have also talked about this before, but in 6th grade, I got invited to a sleepover at this girl's house that was new to town, and she invited some of the mean girls, and of course I was the first one to fall asleep, so the moment I was sleeping, they poured nail polish all over me. And I woke up and I just remember my skin was burning and I was disoriented, and I went into the bathroom and I started to take it off my skin, and my skin started bleeding, and my mom had to come get me. They said that I had just knocked it over in my sleep, but it was all over my body and in my hair, and yeah, that was rough. In 7th grade, it got so bad that I actually had to switch schools. So the middle school that was near our house is 5 minutes away, and I would go there in the morning, get there really early, catch a bus, and ride 45 minutes away to go to another school just to get away from these mean girls that were just they were just driving me nuts. And what do you know? There was a new mean girl who instantly didn't like me, and she liked to spit gum in my hair. So I had to be that kid that sat up front next to the bus driver so I wouldn't get gum in my hair every day. And I finally thought I had made a group of friends, but then one of the girls decided to spread rumors that I was anorexic to the whole entire school. I ended up confronting her in front of the principal at a pep rally, and we threw down a little bit, but I'm yeah, that was my supposed friend. And I had also this guy that would follow me around all the time and be like, "Are you a guy? Why are you so flat-chested? Did you get bit by the tsetse fly? Is that why you get it tsetse, small tatas?" I thought it was funny, but yeah. I think by this point I was just so used to people being mean. I was so excited to have kind of friends, even ones that spread rumors that I was anorexic. I am just tall and skinny. This is how the good Lord made me. My new group of friends would also invite me out to Halloween, and they would ditch me on purpose, and this is before cell phones were very prevalent. So I'd have to find a payphone and call my dad to come pick me up. High school was way better and way worse, in a sense, which I'll get to in a second as to why. But I think it was way better because I had really bad acne, so my skin was really bad, and girls no longer came up to me and tried to be mean. They more talked behind my back. So I'm okay with that. I just wanted to be left alone. Things still happen to me though. I worked all summer long, and I would work on weekends, and I was just, I guess, materialistic. I really wanted a BMW. It was cheesy, but I just wanted to I wanted a convertible, if I was being completely honest, but my parents were like, no. So I saved, and I would earn enough money during the summers, and if I worked on the weekends, I could make all the car payments during the whole year. So my parents weren't paying for it, I bought it. So I bought an older BMW. It was 8 or 10 years old at the time, but I mean, it looked nice, and I hadn't had it very long, and it was in the parking lot at the high school, and someone during school hours wrote "spoiled bitch." They scraped it into my car. I might have cried. Because it scraped the paint too, so anytime that I washed it, you could see like the swirls where they wrote "spoiled bitch." But I did finally end up making some really good friends, and I'm still in contact with some of those people, and actually those friendships are really what helped me survive a lot of the BS, because I had people to sit with at lunch, and that was really cool. The part about high school that I haven't really talked about, and I think I've just been embarrassed by it, was I was sexually harassed by a teacher. As strange as that may sound, it happened. He was more like a substitute teacher, because he would float around campus. He was full-time, but he would fill in if a teacher was out and they couldn't find a sub. He would run like detention and like study hall, and he was the coach of the track team, and he would watch the kids at lunch, like whatever the principal needed, basically. It started at lunch, actually. He just kept staring at me, and it was a little weird. But he would come and sit down at our table and literally squeeze in between me and my friends, so he was sitting next to me and try to talk to me. I was semi-friendly at first because he was a teacher, and I didn't know if he was just talking to everyone on campus, and maybe this is part of his job, like get to know the students, and just over time it got more and more creepy. Then he must have looked up my class schedule, because I thought it was coincidence, but he would start daily popping into at least one of my classes and just like telling the teacher that he was observing, and he would stand in the corner of the class and just stare at me the whole entire class. Any sporting event, any assembly, he would be off to the side, he'd find me in the massive crowd of kids and just stare. And it got to the point where kids were actually coming up to me and being like, "Brittany, why is such and such staring at you?" He then started to wait by my car every day, so because he was on parking lot duty, like he had to make sure that, there's no accidents and people aren't speeding. There's always a teacher in the parking lot, but that was his job. And he'd wait by my car, and I would not look at him. But if I did look at him, he'd be staring and smiling. And I started to get so creeped out that I would leave my car at home and ride with my brother to school and catch a ride after school with him, because I didn't want to be alone. After seeing me around my brother more and more to avoid him, he decides to go up to my sibling one day, and they were just in the hallway, and he comes up to my brother and he's like, "Are you Brittany's boyfriend?" And my brother's like, "No, I'm her brother." That's all he said, and he walked away. At this point, I finally did tell my parents, because I didn't really have a choice, because my brother wasn't going to tell them if I didn't tell them. And I tried not to make a big deal out of it, because I just wanted it to go away. Like, I was embarrassed by it. I didn't understand the attention. I wasn't dressing sexy. I wasn't giving him googie eyes. I wasn't flirting. I was glaring at him and trying to avoid him, and his actions, he was just getting more and more persistent. Of course, my dad wanted to kill him, and my mom wanted me to go to the principal right away, but I was a teenager, and I had so much drama in my childhood. I did not want one more visit to the principal's office. Finally had some friends. I didn't want to be that girl at school that's being harassed by such and such. Like, I just wanted it to go away. But then one night, as fate would have it, we were in uptown Sedona, and I was with my mom and my dad, and I saw this teacher who was married and had a couple daughters, and he spotted me, and I just froze. And I mouthed to my dad. I was like, mouth, yes. I basically said, "That's him," and I bolted out of the store. I was just freaking out. So this teacher, when I left, went up to my dad, and he's like, "Oh, are you Brittany's dad?" He's like, "Your daughter's really beautiful." And my dad says, "You stay away from my daughter." And of course, the next day, I got called into the principal's office because my mom told the principal, and she wanted to have a meeting. You know what the first thing the principal said to me when I got into her office? "We've been hearing rumors that, you've been saying that such and such teacher is harassing you." So this teacher had already gone to the principal and said that I had been making allegations that he was harassing me just to cover his butt in case I ever did make allegations that he was harassing me. So effing sneaky. And of course, the principal did nothing. It was like talking to an ice cube, just pointless. One good thing about this meeting is the teacher did finally start to leave me alone. Like, he wasn't waiting by my car, he stopped coming to my classes. He wouldn't even make eye contact with me, so she must have said something to him, and, he didn't want to lose his job, but he did stop harassing me. But my mom, being a mom, didn't want to let it go, so she started doing some digging, because this teacher, we had found out, also had worked at another middle school and another one in another city. She kept calling and calling these schools and talking to anyone who would talk to her and explaining her situation and what had happened to me, and trying to find out why he was no longer with these schools. Talking to parents and people that worked at school number 1, she found out that he had somehow set up his office in the girls' changing room when he was the coach of the track team, and the students kept complaining that he would walk in while they were changing. So instead of firing him, they just transferred him to the high school. And at school number 2, my mom called, and finally the school secretary called her back and said, look, I will lose my job if I say anything, but he was fired from our school because he was doing the same thing he was doing to your daughter to another girl at our school. At school number 1 and school number 2, the thing that they had in common also with my story is that he would pick out one girl. There was a girl on the track team in school number 1, there was some anonymous girl at school number 2, and there was me at school number 3. He was smart, really smart, just pick one target and then who's gonna believe you? I made it through the rest of the year and the summer, and then come back sophomore year, and thank heavens this teacher was gone, and of course transferred out to another school. And my mom did more digging because she's tenacious when it comes to protecting her kids, and come to find out this teacher actually had pedophile charges out of California. So kind of confusing how he could be a teacher in Arizona if he is a registered pedophile in California. Even though this teacher never physically touched me, I felt disgusting. Like, I hated men. I didn't want my dad to hug me. I didn't have a boyfriend all the way through high school. I didn't like guys. I associated everyone with him. These days, some of my best friends are guys, and I really love my guy friends, and I'm boy crazy, so obviously I got over it, but it took me a really long time to get past it and not feel like I somehow was violated, because it went on for months and it was just unwanted, creepy, really persistent. I felt violated. And after watching 13 Reasons Why, I got what it was to have teachers and stuff not believe you and not have your back, and I knew what it was to be bullied and have rumors spread about you. And in the show, like they deal with the subject of rape, and I was never raped, but I was definitely harassed. And it made me feel like I should stop being ashamed of what happened to me and maybe talk about it, so someone that's in a similar situation can be like, okay, she survived, she's doing good, I can survive too. If I hadn't had such a tough childhood, I don't think I could have lasted 6 months in Hollywood, because if any of you are in acting or the acting industry or want to be an actor, it is brutal. It is mostly rejection, and people will tell you to your face, like, you're too tall, you're too skinny, your gums are too big, you can't act. Like, they don't hold back. They are not polite. I'm just so used to rejection because that was like 99% of my life, so it felt really normal. If you yourself are facing any kind of harassment like this or bullying, and as a teenager, I just wanted to hide and I wanted it to go away, but as an adult, like, I would have called the police. So I think it's really important, if you are younger and you're going through something like this, to tell someone. Keep telling people until someone does something. So don't just rely on one person, because the principal and the people at my high school were trying to protect their butts. Like, they didn't want a lawsuit and a teacher harassing, students. They just wanted to transfer him out and send him to another school. Like, he's no longer our problem. And if it gets to the point in your life where you feel like you don't want to go on, like, the pain is so much and so overwhelming that you just want it to stop, that's the point in life when you have to look at your goals and realize there is a tomorrow, and there's a next day after that, and there's a day after that, and there's 10 years after that, and you can't get stuck in a moment in a really hard situation. You have to understand that this is all passing. Like, you will not be in high school forever. You will be out in the world someday, and you never know, when you're going to meet someone that you love, or when you're going to have a child. Like, I never thought I'd be a mom. And being a mom is the best, but I think it's a hard too when you're younger or a teenager, or even when you're older and you're stuck in moments of just heartache and pain and loss. It's really hard to look past that. I feel like my motto has always been, don't get stuck. Like, train your mind, keep going forward, whatever's happening, you just keep going. You know, you lose everything, keep going. Someone that you love dies, keep going. That's all you can do is keep going. And I didn't make this video, so you'd be like, oh, poor Brittani, I feel so bad for her, like and subscribe. Like, I just felt like the show really resonated with me, and I really wanted to talk about things that I haven't talked about for the Hannah Bakers in the world. Who's the main character on the show, and she ends up, you know, killing herself, which, just heartbreaking. Like, the show is so much darker than what happened to me, but I just wanted to talk to anyone who's going through this situation or has been through it, and, you know, let them know that there is hope, as cheesy or as cliche as that sounds. Like, there is always so much more to life that you have to experience, and just hang in there to get to the good points, because there's low lows and there's high highs, but I feel like the lows are worth the highs. So you just have to stay the course. You just gotta hang in there. And I have no clue how to end this video. I hope it didn't depress you. But yeah, I think that all the things that happen to us are what make us who we are. So I feel like I'm always the last person to judge someone, and I'm always the first to give my time or give money if someone needs it, or everything that happened to me, instead of making me bitter, I think gave me more empathy and made me a better person. So I don't hate what happened to me, because it made me me. Bye.